Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sonia Perez, Director of Online User Engagement here at the EPO in The Hague. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this highly anticipated seminar on APIs, where we are joined by many participants from numerous organizations and companies from over 20 different countries. Today, my colleagues, Dirk and Stam, will guide you through how to leverage our B2B technical interfaces in MyEPO services. MyEPO is designed to simplify the way patent applicants and representatives interact with the EPO, and it aims at being the one-stop shop for conducting online business with us. Sure. We are aware that many of you rely on IP management systems to handle your data and your internal processes, and that's why we want to provide you with APIs that enable automated data exchange between your IPMS and our MyEPO services. We hope you will find this seminar insightful, and we look forward to your questions that can be posted via the Q&A section. And please remember that this session is being recorded, and all participants, the registered ones, will receive an email in a few days with a link to the recording material. And now I'm pleased to hand over to my colleague Dirk, who will introduce himself. Thank you, Dirk. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Sonia. Welcome everybody to this presentation on the B2B APIs for MyEPO and online filing. So as Sonia said, I'm the head of department of front office tools, which is the team which is responsible for the filing tools like Online Filing 2.0 and MyEPO. During this presentation, I will be focusing on the B2B APIs for MyEPO, while my colleague Stam will be focusing on Online Filing 2.0. So if you have indeed questions, don't hesitate to put them in the Q&A. We will come back to them either directly via the chat or via the live session itself. Stam?
So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Stamatis Guinness. I work with Dirk in the front office tools, mostly responsible for Online Filing 2.0. So very happy to have you all here today for this workshop on the B2B APIs. And I would say let's start. We're going to start with present to you a little bit an overview of what we mean by a B2B API, discuss about how you can request a specific B2B account, and then show you discuss about the endpoints for Online Filing 2.0, give you a quick demo, and as well as the endpoints for MyEPO, and give you a quick demo there as well. In between the two demos for the Online Filing 2.0 and MyEPO, we can answer questions, so you can post your questions in the Q&A. We also have colleagues that are taking care of answering these questions, and there are some that are really that we can discuss here all as part of this presentation. We will do that as well. So yeah, first of all, what we mean by a B2B API, well, it's essentially a set of endpoints that provide a way for you to integrate your patent management systems with MyEPO and Online Filing 2.0. And through these endpoints, you can actually perform actions without the need for a user to actually log into the UI and make use of the tool itself to perform these actions. There are several different use cases that you can leverage, that you can use these endpoints. For instance, in MyEPO, you can use them to manage your communications or validate your portfolio or your own data. You can check pending fees. In Online Filing 2.0, you can do submissions and imports, or you can also manage your submissions. You can view them, etc. Before going to the tools themselves and the endpoints themselves, it's really important to clarify some things about how you can access and how you can get a B2B account. So first of all, to make use of the B2B APIs, you need a very specific B2B account. And to do that, to get this account, you need to make an explicit request by someone who we have registered in our records as a company administrator to support at epo.org. Then we will provide you with a specific client ID and secret. And then obviously you also need to have a company that exists so that we can link your B2B account to that company. Here I would like to discuss a little bit about a slight difference between MyPO and Online Filing 2.0. In MyPO, we have a sandbox and a production environment. And bear in mind that in order to access the sandbox environment of MyPO, you need different set of credentials. So essentially for MyPO, you would need to make one request to get sandbox credentials and another request to get full production credentials. And your B2B account, once you get your production credentials for MyPO, needs to be given access to Mailbox by your company administrator in production. In Online Filing 2.0, for those of you aware of the tool, we have two modes for Online Filing 2.0. We have the production mode and the demo mode. We don't have a sandbox for Online Filing 2.0, but you can use the demo mode to, let's say, play around with the application and familiarize yourself with the application and the B2B API. The demo mode can be accessed with your production credentials. So this is a difference here, that for Online Filing 2.0, you just need one set of credentials with which you can access both production and demo. This is because for the B2B user is basically treated as a functional user. So essentially your administrator of your organization, of your company, needs to make sure that you add the B2B user to your company and give the necessary rights and permissions. So now I will go on with discussing about the Online Filing 2.0 endpoints. In these slides, I have a list of these, so you might not find them very exciting, but after this brief introduction, I will actually give you a demo, a live demo, and you can see it will make more sense. One of the most important endpoints that we have is that for importing. It allows you to import an application package to a folder. You can specify a folder if you want, and it will import it to that particular folder. Obviously, that package needs to have a very specific structure, and in fact, we have a very detailed technical manual on how to structure your packages so that this import can work properly. Another endpoint that we have in our list is the submissions endpoint. It basically returns a list of submissions for your organization. That's why this is a way that you can see what kind of submissions have been made. There are two parameters here, a limit and an offset parameter. So you can actually limit the result that you get, and you can also offset it by a number of results. This endpoint returns the submission list in a chronological order based on their creation date. So you can shift forward with the offset. For this particular endpoint, one of the features that we will be adding in a future release is basically a time filter. So instead of offsetting, you can select to get a list of submissions that were submitted in a particular date or in a date range. Another important endpoint that we have is the one that returns to you the status of a particular submission. So you provide it with a submission ID, and you get back what the status of that submission is, whether it's a draft, it's ready to send, submitted, etc. And then we have one that you can export a submission package. So it's the same functionality. If you are aware of the UI of Online Filing 2.0, you have that export button, and you get a zip file back which contains all the files that are included in your package. This is more or less the same, but you just call it through B2B through an endpoint. You need to provide the submission ID, and you get that zip file back. We have one more endpoint that you can actually provide the submission ID as particular submission, and you get back the list of files that are included in that package. And the reason why we introduced that endpoint is so that you can basically make use of the next one, where you can the download endpoint, which allows you to download a single file out of the submission package. This set of two endpoints, we introduced them as a request from one of our users, who basically said that they're not really interested in exporting the entire package. They're just interested in exporting the receipts after they have submitted. So this way, you have a way of listing the files within the package. You can select which file you want. So, for instance, submission receipt.pdf, and then export only that particular file. And then we have an endpoint to delete a submission. Well, this is pretty much self-explanatory. Obviously, you cannot delete a submitted package. So yeah, there are some checks there for how this can be used. And one to submit. And then again, this can only be used in packages which are in submissions which are in status ready to send. So if you have a list of packages that you know your status is ready to send, you can invoke that endpoint and they are submitted automatically. So you don't need to log into the system and press the submit button. Some remarks here. All of these endpoints operate within the scope of your organization, the organization that you have in ONAFine 2.0. And another really important remark is that the import endpoint at the moment only supports EP procedures. It does not support PCT procedures. Nevertheless, I would like to highlight here that we're working together with WIPO, and at the moment we are testing an endpoint that they have provided that will actually allow the import of PCT procedures. This is not yet ready to be released into production. It's something that we're working on in our non-production systems. We're still testing it together with WIPO, but we expect that it will be rolled out soon into production. And as I said earlier, the submission packages that you will use for import need to be structured in a very strict manner and conform to the DDD requirements. We have a detailed import guide that explains how you need to structure your packages. I would suggest that you have a look into that guide. Another tip that I have to give you is create drafts in the UI of ONAFine 2.0, export them, and then you can see how these drafts are structured. It's better than starting from a blank piece of paper and creating XML files to have, let's say, a starting point, and you to have examples that you know are working for you and your organization. At this point, I think we can go into a little bit more interesting things. So what I will do is I will do a demo of the endpoints that I described before. I have here ONAFine 2.0 open. Yes.
May I briefly interrupt, because I think there's a very good question from one of the participants on the difference between the demo mode and the production modes. How that is working exactly? Do we have specific URLs, endpoints for the demo and production mode? And
Yes.
that also brought the question up, how can we ensure that we do not disturb our production environment with the testing, if there can be taken some measures?
That's a very good point. So the first question, yes, there are different endpoints. So there are different endpoint URLs for production and demo. We have a Swagger page that details this, both the production and the demo mode. So you see here, if you go to demo, there are different endpoints that you need to call, and production. So you can find them through there. And the other point about how you can make sure that you're not, let's say, disturbing your production mode, there are two ways you can do that. First of all, considering that your B2B user is similar as any other functional user that you have, your company administrator can go into the ONAFine 2.0 production mode and specify that the B2B user doesn't have access to production, so it only has access to demo mode, and that's the safest bet. And there's another way that you can do it. You can actually we've had a user that to be sure they requested an additional B2B account so that they manage it like this. They had one B2B account only for their production environment and for the production mode, and another B2B account that they only gave rights to their demo mode. It is up to you. But keep in mind that the B2B account is same as, and you can manage it the same way as you can manage any other functional user of your organization. So you can give it rights, remove rights, etc., and toggle the access that this user has to production and demo modes as well. Please, Dirk, yeah, of course, don't hesitate to interrupt me, because I don't have a view of the Q&A. So if there are important questions, yeah, please interrupt me, and I would happily answer them.
Okay, you're welcome.
I would go on now with the demonstration. So I have Postman here. I assume that most of you know what this is. If you don't, it's just a development tool that can be used to query APIs. I could do the demo using the Swagger page. I found this a little bit more easy. So I will start with import. Now, the import endpoint, you see, this is the demo URL. It has a demo here, so it's a very specific endpoint that you're hitting. And if it was a production, there's a difference here. I think it's called prod. So that's the difference in the two URLs. As you can see, you can select a folder here. In my Online Filing 2.0, I have created this folder, user day, and this is where I will be uploading my files. Before I do the demo, I wanted to show you what I mean about basically the need to have your files need to have a specific structure. If you see, this is a file that I would like to import right now into Online Filing 2.0. If I click on this zip file, it has a very specific structure. It has the SFD request XML, the package data XML, and these are two PDF files that I'm attaching to my 1038. And if I open, for instance, the SFD request, yeah, and you can see it here. It's a strict, let's say, format of how this should be structured. So you need to make sure that that you follow these rules. Otherwise, your import will not be successful. Similarly, for instance, if I open the package data XML file, it's another really important file, because it basically references any file that you have uploaded that you are including into your application, into your package. It needs to be referenced here. So yeah, that was just a reminder about this. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going back to Postman. I'm going to select this file and to do the import. So here I am. Let's get this one open, and if I hit send now, it's making the request. Yes, and you can see I got back the result. I got back the submission ID. This is a unique identifier for each submission. And here I got a list of errors and warnings. The particular example that I used maybe wasn't so good because it doesn't have any errors and warnings, but just an explanation here about what these errors are and why this is successful, the import is successful. So there are two types of validations that take place when you're making an import. First of all, we check whether your package meets these XML structure requirements. And if it does, it means that we can import it. But nevertheless, you can always have business validation errors. So for instance, you haven't selected any fees, or you haven't selected an applicant in a new patent application. These would appear as errors. And these also appear in the Online Filing 2.0 UI. If I refresh here, you will see that my import is done. You see, this is the one that I imported right now. And if I open it, basically, it's the errors and warnings that you get are the same as the ones that you see here. So the errors that will be reported here are basically the mandatory actions that are required for you to submit, and the warnings is the important actions. So it's the same thing. So yeah, this is now I demonstrated to you the import. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this submission ID here, and I'm going to show you a little bit how the other endpoints work. I will start with the status endpoint. So you will see here, if I query for the status of this particular submission ID, it tells me that it's in draft mode. And now I have opened this in Online Filing 2.0. What I will do is I will sign it so that you could see that when I change something here, the status endpoint will return something different. So I will say that it's okay. I will add the signature here. And I will make it ready to send, and I will close it. And so you see now this is in status ready to send. I'm going back to Postman. I will invoke again the status endpoint. You will see here the status has changed. And because now this is in status ready to send, it actually means that I can submit it. So what I will do is I will go and use the submit endpoint. So again, I will paste here the submission ID. This is the same submission ID that we're talking about. And this particular application can be submitted. I will hit send. Now, when I hit send here, I just got a 200 result. The reason behind this is that submission here is a asynchronous process. So you will see that we send the submission to our server, to our back office systems, and this is being processed. The receipt is being generated. That is why when I hit the submit endpoint here, I didn't get any result. But again, you can be querying with a status to see what is actually the status of the submission that you made. And if you see here, I queried again, and the status has changed to submitted. Indeed, this has been submitted. And yeah, another thing that we can do, I want to show you a couple of more endpoints. The first one is this one, the endpoint to list the package files. So I will enter the submission ID here again, and you see here the package files of this package is the files that I uploaded, and you also has the receipt PDF and the receipt XML. This is because now this package is submitted, and if I want to get a particular file out of this package, so I will use the download package file endpoint. So again, I will take this submission ID. I'm going to my download package file endpoint. I paste it here, and here I need to provide a file. Let's get the receipt PDF. And because this is a binary file, it's going to give me back, send me back a PDF file. I'm going to select here, send and download. So I should be asked to, yeah. So now I'm asked to save my file. And this is the receipt PDF that I just downloaded. It's a little slow, but it's getting there. Yeah. So this is the receipt PDF that I just downloaded. And yeah, one more important. Yeah, we also have the export endpoint. It is similar to the downloads package file, but it gets the entire package. So if I invoke this endpoint, I will get back one zip file that contains all the packages. So maybe I will do that really quickly. I provide the submission ID again here, send the download. And this is a zip file that is coming back. So if I go back here, this is my zip file, export, and you see it has all the files that are included within the package that I have also in Online Filing 2.0. Now, the other important endpoint that I wanted to show you is this one, the submissions endpoint, because it's actually very useful for your perhaps daily management, let's say, of your work. It's very simple in what it does. It basically returns a list of submissions, and you can put limits here or offsets. I will invoke it once here with a limit. So I got back 10 submissions. It returns to you the submission ID, the status, the reference, where it's at, if it's submitted or if it has an application number, it will also return to you it will also include here the application number. The results are coming back in a chronological order based on the creation date. So if you want to move forward, that's why you see here these are quite old. So if I offset this by 1,000, I got new ones. I got later ones, and again, it's actually quite useful. So if we've had users who are using this endpoint to get the latest, let's say, submissions, and then on a daily basis, every morning, they get the submission IDs, and every morning they invoke the export endpoint, so they export the submissions of the previous day. And that's a use case that we've seen. It's actually quite popular. And yeah, that is it. Well, there's also the delete endpoint. I don't think it's not so much important to show it to you at the moment. It will basically delete an old file, a file that's not in submitted state. So yeah, what I will do, I will stop my sharing, or maybe I will keep it up. Yeah. And in case there are any questions that.
Yes, it's Stam. There's one question that came up on what can be done with a B2B user for sending submissions. So in essence, can you automate the full process without going into Online Filing 2.0? Or how can you configure a setup such that the B2B user, for example, cannot submit or send the submission to the EPO? Okay. So a bit of a variations of the use cases at the offices. Yeah.
Yes. There's one thing that I wanted to tell you, that the import endpoint, if you import an application that doesn't have any business validation error, so you see this error list is blank here, and it is also the XMLs also have a signature included, then it will import your submission into status ready to send. So this is a way that you can actually even send your submission without ever having to log in to Online Filing 2.0. So that's one end of the spectrum where basically you can automate everything on your side. You just need to prepare packages that you are sure that they don't have error lists, or maybe they have warnings, but you're aware of them, and then import them. They will be imported into status ready to send, and then you can send them directly. Maybe I have an example here that I can show you of this. If I select, I think this one is ready to send. So if I import this one, you see, it's automatically imported into status ready to send, because this package doesn't have any critical, any business validation errors, and also we had in the XML, we had included a signature, so it was a signed package, and you could actually send it. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, where you don't want to be basically taking a risk that you will submit something by mistake from your B2B user, you can do this very easily from your administration. So if I go to my production, so now this is Online Filing 2.0 production. It's not the demo that I had here. And I'm already an administrator of this organization. So if I go here to the administration tab, and I go to access rights and permissions, you see this is our B2B user. And if you manage the rights and the permissions of this user, you see for production, that's actually something that we have as a safe for all our production users. Nobody has the right to send packages. And the last entry here is access to Online Filing 2.0. If I untick this, then my B2B user will only be able to use the demo mode, not the production mode. So this is how you can limit the rights that you have of your B2B user. Yeah, it's an ugly name, I'm sorry. But this is you treat your B2B user the same way that you would treat any other user of your organization. If you don't want them to send, then make sure that the sending rights are disabled. If you don't want the B2B user to access the production mode because you want to familiarize yourself first and make sure that everything works perfectly, or you don't make any. You can use the B2B API in a good enough way. Disable this one, and your B2B user will only be able to access the demo mode.
Okay, very good, Stam. Following up with some other questions that came from the audience, is that on the roadmap that we are going to apply on the B2B endpoints for Online Filing 2.0, like adding extra filters for date filters or status filters. Now, Derek can already comment that we are constantly in the process of improving our services. As Tam already mentioned before, we are fully cooperating with WIPO on introducing the endpoints to allow you to import PCT submissions. And I think the EPO is constantly evaluating and reviewing the missing functionalities that we have. These are new endpoints. It's a very good start that we have taken, and any features that are missing or that are beneficial to our end users, we will for sure analyze that and try to fit that into our roadmap, depending on the priority and the capacities, of course. I don't see any, as another question. That's an interesting one. Is there a sort of recycle bin in case of submissions is deleted by error?
That's a good one. No, at the moment we don't have something like that. If something is deleted, you're not gonna be able to see this anymore over here. But it's something that we can think of because we're not physically deleting it immediately after you set it to delete it. So it just flagged as deleted, not shown here. So maybe we can think about this recycle bin feature.
Very good. Follow the same principle of feature requests that are going to come in while people are moving into Online Filing 2.0 endpoints gradually. This is a roadmap where also we will need your feedback to see what we are missing and what can be of value as well. Okay, so I don't see that there are any more specific questions for Online Filing 2.0. Then I would like to thank Stam already for his presentation. If there are questions that are coming up or you need support on Online Filing 2.0 integration within your company or within your own software, don't hesitate to contact and to consult also the resources that we have made available on epo.org. I think it's an effort which will pay off at the end for you as well. Okay, then I propose that I'll switch over to my presentation, Stam, and then we'll start off with MyEPO. So I'm going to present you the MyEPO endpoints. As Stam already mentioned before, the MyEPO API endpoints, they also work with an authorization that is standard in the system. The basic principle that we have applied is that the B2B account is to be treated as a normal user. So in order to work with all the mailbox endpoints, the company administrator, once the B2B account is added to your organization or company, needs to give mailbox access to that specific B2B account. If that is not done, you will get an error when trying to call the mailbox control endpoints. The same story is also applicable to the portfolio controller endpoints. There we have a specific authorization per portfolio. So you will see in MyEPO itself that your B2B account is both listed in the company members overview as a normal user, but also listed in the portfolio permissions as a normal user, where you can say that where you can set that the B2B account gets full control of the portfolio or not. For some of the endpoints, you will indeed do not need specific authorizations, specifically for the fee and term controller endpoints. These are general purpose endpoints where we are basically delivering data which is also publicly available on the EPO websites, like for example the schedule of fees. We have provided an endpoint for you to download that data also as structured data via the endpoints. And then the term controller is indeed one where we are giving you descriptions of the EPO terms that exist and that you are able to consult via the APIs. I will come back to that one in more detail. The MyEPO endpoints, they have been developed over X number of months in the meantime. And the very first endpoints that were delivered in our production environment were related to the Mailbox API. We call it the Mailbox controllers. And with these endpoints, you can basically manage your inbox, your mailbox from MyEPO, just as a real user would do in the UI. There are typical use cases around these endpoints that make sense. I remember from the past, from our old legacy mailbox application, that users were manually downloading on a daily basis the communications from the mailbox, then processing it internally in their PMS systems. Now, with these endpoints, these manual actions can be avoided. This is our base use case, I would say, that comes up with a lot of clients that have already implemented these endpoints. So in essence, I would say the Swiss Army knife of the mailbox controller is the communications endpoints, which retrieves your list of communications across all your folders, and where you can apply some filtering also on various aspects. We have communications unhandled. This was basically the first endpoint that we delivered, which is going to return you the communications which are marked as unhandled communications. For those that are familiar to the UI, you know that you have a functionality in MyEPO to set communications as handled. This is a functionality that you can use freely within your process. It can be used in various ways. I remember that some of the users were using it to identify that their backup process was automatically handled. Some other people are using it for different purposes. There's an endpoint to get also the list of the folders. MyEPO has a concept of folders in the mailbox. So in order to manage your communications throughout the application, you would need to get the list of folders. And that will allow you also, this is the post endpoint, to move individual communications to specific folders. So again, the same process as you are applying manually currently in MyEPO, where users are moving communications in dedicated folders, for example, based on the year of the receiving. That can also be automated by these endpoints. And then I come to the download communication. With this endpoint, you are able to download communications that are sent to you. That download will deliver you either a PDF document or a zip file containing, for example, a bundle of communications or citations. Typically, search reports are downloaded as a zip file, whereby the communication, the search report itself, plus the citations are joined up into a zip file. When it comes down to the PDFs, which are downloadable, the EPO is working to get more and more of our PDFs away from the image PDF type and converting them to PDFs containing structured data. So that can be extracted from the PDF without having to go through an OCR process. One more endpoint to set the communications to handled. As I mentioned before, the handle feature in MyEPO is something that you can use for your own process. You can set the definition of how you want to use that handle endpoint, and it can be done on individual communications or on a list of communications. This was the part of the mailbox controller, which is I think a very important point in your working together with the EPO. Recently, we have also introduced endpoints to manage the portfolio side of my EPO portfolio, one of the first endpoints that we then had to deliver was the portfolios endpoint, where you can get an overview of all the portfolios to which the B2B account is authorized. There we have done a small deviation from the fact that a B2B account should be a user, because the B2B account needs to have an overview of all the portfolios. So in that sense, when you execute here with your B2B account, the get portfolios, you will get all the individual portfolios of the company. Now, in order to get inside that portfolio, you will need to give your B2B account specific access on the portfolio. If you do not have given that access, you will not get any data, as it's mentioned at the bottom of the slides. What kind of functionality do we then provide once you have identified your portfolio? We have provided, in essence, the endpoints that you see here, where for a given application within your portfolio, you can request, of course, the fees which are pending at the EPO. You can also get the due dates as they are available inside our legal system, so in our back office. So that's a one-on-one data that you will get. I will come back to the use cases of those endpoints a bit later. You can get the bibliographic data for the specific application. And of course, in order to know which applications are within your portfolio, we have provided also an endpoint to get a list of applications. And then as a last one, we also provided this patch endpoint to update your file reference. Typically, this is something that if there are reorganizations or movements of applications to other attorneys where you have to update a lot of your internal file references, this can be steered from within your PMS system towards MyEPO in an automated way. With those endpoints, there are again different use cases. We have feedback from customers that have used those endpoints to validate the content of their portfolio view in their own PMS system with what we have at the EPO, to make sure that applications on both sides are in sync. That we had a couple of cases where this exercise identified that 4 or 5 out of 10,000 applications were actually not listed in the PMS system of the client, where they did a correction to sort that out. Due dates, that one was a very hot topic and is something that is quite difficult sometimes to get the rules correct. Some companies have chosen not to calculate the due dates internally anymore and rely fully on the endpoint that we have made available, while others companies have said, okay, we still want to keep control over the due date, but we are going to use it as a validation support for our own calculations. So this is the end of the presentation. So I'm now going to move over to the demo. If there are no questions, maybe something specific before we start?
No, at the moment there is no
Okay,
question.
very good. So, as Tom has also shown in this presentation, your B2B account needs to be authenticated with our authentication system. And that is typically done by providing your client ID and your client secret in a call to our authentication system, which will then return an access token that you can use in subsequent calls. So here, I will send it again. You will see an access token is generated. This access token is then used in the subsequent calls to our system. First thing that I'm going to show you is the communications endpoint. As I said, it's actually our Swiss Army knife, and it will give you, in this case, the overview of all the communications in your mailbox application. This is structured based in JSON formats, and you can use a paging mechanism. So in this case, you will see at the bottom of the object that we have 5,205 communications, and I'm retrieving the first 10 communications of that set. You will see the important ID, which is our communication ID, and that can be used to fulfill subsequent operations on the application itself. It has indeed various fields. You can sort on folder ID. You can you can filter on a couple of items. And you will see, in essence, the title of the communication, the shortcode that is related to it, like document code here, whether it's read by you, and the handled flag, also the containing folder, and some links which will make your download and handling of the communication we will facilitate it. I will also briefly move to the mailbox itself so that you'll see, because I've set up a test company in our non-production environment, which is basically going to give you the same view as what you are seeing in your results from your endpoints. The next one here is the unhandled endpoints. So if I execute this one, you will get all the communications which are not handled, and that should correspond to the 233 communications that you will see in your UI as well. Voila, indeed 233 corresponds, and you will be able to manage that as well. The folders, this endpoint, I send it again, gives you the overview of all the folders which are in your inbox. We have some defined folders like the inbox and the deleted. Those ones are set up by the system, but as you can see, there are extra folders which you can make and that you can then use either to your UI to move your communications inside those folders, or you can use the endpoints to manipulate the communications without going into MyAPO. Again, here the mechanism is working with those folder IDs, which need to be taken in subsequent calls to the move endpoint. Downloads endpoints. This one is indeed doing, as I said before, downloading a given communication ID. So from your overview that you had in the communications endpoint, you can do a get for that specific document, and just like in the UI, you will get a zip file with the specific communication that you have downloaded. Handle endpoints. Again, same as in the UI, you enter your specific communication ID that you would like to mark as handled. You execute this endpoint, and I get an error in this case, which is a surprise. And that's always the risk when you are running into a non-production environment, which is alive. The same for the moving of communications. Here in this specific endpoint, you will see that we are going to move a list of communications. So we are making an array of the communication IDs and moving it from the originating folder into the specific folder that we have specified here. That's it. This can completely mimic the behavior, the usage of this can completely mimic what your real users were doing in the past. You can execute these endpoints via a script where you during the day are going to monitor new communications coming in. So it can deliver a lot of benefit, especially on the side of the resources that you need to monitor your mailbox. The one thing that I would like to mention on the unhandled endpoint, on the handle endpoint, sorry, basically this is a toggle. So once you call the endpoint a second time on a communication, then the communication will be made unhandled again. This is something, again, you can play with that function, with that feature. It allows you quite some flexibility to define your own processes. Then I come to the portfolio controller. In this case, I have already approved, so I will show you in the admin area also a bit how the B2B account looks like. So in this case, we have assigned two B2B accounts. The one that I'm using currently is specifically this one. So the B2B account has mailbox access. And when you go to the application and patterns view, you will see in the permissions that also my B2B account has full control over that specific portfolio. Once the account has that, of course, we can, as I said, we can always execute the portfolio overview where you will get your unique identifier of the portfolio, the name, you have full access, and then the URL to get the latest, the list of applications within that portfolio. When I execute that list of applications, I'm going to switch off this one because I'm filtering already on a given application number. You will see that you will get an overview of the key data from your applications in that portfolio. We have included a couple of various application number formats. It's a difficult subject at the EPO on the application number format that we're using for the various proceedings and for the various systems. So we are delivering the basic standards that we are using internally. You will see that there are also further links to facilitate the access to due dates and fees for that application. Brings me to the fees. For a given application number like this one, we can request the outstanding fees. You will get a fee code for that is pending, a fee that is pending with its related fee code and the due date and the amount, of course. Now, in order to know what that specific fee code means, we have, as I said before, introduced the fee controller as well, where you can get for the description of the various fees. Like, for example, fee code 001 has a description in English, French, in German, that is about a filing fee for EP directs. Then the due dates, again, we are applying it for a given application number. When you execute this one, you will get in just like with the fees, your outstanding terms with a term key, which is a short code for a longer descriptive text, which you will find back in the terms controller. When you execute this point, you will see that you will get a human readable explanation of the specific term which is pending at the EPO. As a last point, before I conclude the presentation and go back to the Q&A, I would like to also give a bit insight on the fee controller. Again, we also provide the structured data of the history of the fees for a given fee code, like in this case, the 001, with the validity dates and the validity periods and the amounts of that were valid at that point in time. And of course, the grouping by the fee groups. That basically concludes my presentation on the B2B APIs for my EPO. So if there are questions, then I would gladly answer.
There are no open questions at the moment, Dirk. Nevertheless, maybe it would be worth explaining a little bit the difference between the sandbox environment and the production environment. Because
indeed, a couple of questions on that one. Yeah, indeed. In contrast with our online filing system, the My EPO system is very heavily integrated with our back office. So the online filing system is basically a fire and forget mechanism where you provide your submission package, you send it up to the EPO, and we do then afterwards all the processing. My EPO is more integrated with our back office, and that also brings that we have to still evolve on providing a playground for you with more realistic data. In order to already allow your integrators or your development teams to work with data where they are absolutely sure that nothing can happen in production, we have provided a sandbox environment where we are, for those endpoints that I've just mentioned, are providing static data, which is the same for every B2B account. So all the users which are getting API credentials for the sandbox environment, they can use that sandbox environment with the same data. And they have also functionality, especially in the sense in the area of the mailbox controller, to reset the sandbox data. We have made in the sandbox data a subset of communications with a couple of variations, like we are providing a search report, we are providing PDFs, multiple pages, a couple of different document codes that you then can also download and work with. So for the developers and the integrators, you can use your sandbox credentials fully independently from your production environment, and that's a safeguard which is a bit easier than what we have on Online Filing 2.0. You don't have to configure anything.
And just a clarification here, just to make it clear, the fact that the sandbox environment will not have a UI. So you can use the endpoints on the sandbox environment on a specific set of data that's predefined from our side, but you cannot. There's no UI that you can, like a MyEPO UI, that you can actually view that on the screen.
Yeah, that's indeed correct. Sandbox has no UI, also because it's basically fake data that is quite independent from the rest of the system. Good. I don't see any open questions from the audience. I hope that our presentation was very clear and that it also made very visible what the opportunities are that you can use within your company. I think especially with the MyEPO endpoints, the integration is something which is quite straightforward. That's what the feedback that we have also gotten from all the users that have already exploited those endpoints. Online Filing 2.0 is a bit more advanced, but we surely encourage people to take that path and try to move over, especially the users that are working with EOLF PMS gateway, because it's also the intention from the EPO to move over and move out of Online Filing client, the EOLF client. In any case, if there are issues or you have questions, I would say don't hesitate to reach out either via support@epo.org or to us directly. And I think one advice that Stam I can give the users, especially for Online Filing 2.0, if they want to start with this integration, I think, I don't remember if you mentioned it before, it's always good to export an existing submission as a template for your work. Then you know at least a structure that works, and then you can dive into the more exotic cases whenever you are ready or more confident to get into those areas. If you have something to say about that, Stam, be my guest.
No, indeed. Yeah, I think you said it all. Yeah, just to also, because I see there's an open question, the slides will be shared with the registered participants of this workshop. So you will get them, you will get the link to that. And as well, I think, yeah, it will be also published tonight.
Okay. Then I wish everyone a good continuation of the day, and I hope to see a lot of calls to our endpoints and that we can see that it becomes a success. Thank you very much.